Hello and welcome to 5 Habits of. Today we are joined by the brilliant Dr. Simon Gallagher, and he is going to be taking us through his 5 habits to advance your EQ. I always get this bit wrong. 5 EQ habits to advance your career. It's a mouthful, but this guy will help us navigate our way through it. Hello, Dr. Simon. How are you?
Hello, Michael. I'm good. How are you? Coming in very strong there, the brilliant Simon Gallagher. Let's taper expectations a little bit down, all right?
Okay, well, I will try to hold my enthusiasm. So today you're going to be taking us through EQ and how we can think about the habits and skill around how we use that. Can you just give us a tiny bit about you first and your background?
Yeah, so my background is in technical. I have a science background, worked in corporate for 10 years and coached for 5 of those corporate years, and then went out, gave up the cushy corporate job to go coach myself and help people with their EQ. I initially started off many years ago as helping people with their career and found that EQ was the biggest differentiator when it comes to people's success. So did my study on that, and now I assess people on their EQ through EQI, which is an assessment that people may be aware of, and then I help them develop their EQ skills and scores, because a high EQ has a very positive knock-on effect to all aspects of your life, never mind your career, Michael.
Nice. I love that. And can you describe to us what EQ is? When we're talking about EQ, what are we thinking about really?
The best thing that I've come across is a phrase that is it is the measure of human effectiveness. Now, what does that mean? So when people think of emotional intelligence, the first things that kind of come to mind is like emotional self-awareness, empathy, self-expression. Very much just the tip of the iceberg. What I do in terms of helping people with their EQ, it covers 4 areas. Sorry, excuse me, 5 areas, and they have 3 sub skills each. That's 15 skills. That covers an awful lot. So
Yeah.
we're talking about decision making, stress tolerance, interpersonal relationships, how you carry yourself in the week. Every single decision that you make, Michael, is because of emotional intelligence. We are feeling machines. It just doesn't stop. When you're sitting on the couch, you are carrying an emotion. Calm is an emotion. So it
Yeah.
dictates everything that we do. Emotional intelligence is the bridge between feeling and how you think, behave, and react. It is the foundation of everything that we do, not overstating it.
Cool. I love that. The thing that really stood out for me there is you said it was your feeling and then how you think. Think it wasn't think, feel, act, something like that. But actually, it is. It's
Think,
that emotion that's in you in that moment, and then how
think,
you
react, and
either
behave. Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
react,
It's
behave. Nice.
Yeah. And I was just thinking there the other day, Michael, about in terms of the society that been brought up into, and all our assessments that we've done in our lives just test IQ. That's all they do. And EQ is the biggest differentiator when it comes to your, let's say, career success. Because when we come out of, let's say, third level education, everybody has the same, more or less, the same IQ. Your IQ is fixed in your 20s and doesn't go anywhere really. Whereas success is dictated by your EQ, especially in highly technical fields. If you're going to ask a person, what's the difference between yourself and, let's say, your boss or the head of your company? It's not IQ really, it's more EQ. And the more we lean into having an awareness and education around emotional intelligence, the more we can develop it, improve it, and have that knock on effect in our career and other aspects of our lives.
Right. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna have 5 habits today. The last one is a banger, so people need to hang around for it.
It's the one
And
where people get wrong an awful lot as
people.
well.
Okay, and if people are watching, we are live, so you can chuck a comment on, and we'll bring it up on screen, and we can talk about it. But Simon, what is habit number one? Habit/skill we should be thinking about number one.
Habit/skill number 1 is assertiveness. And this is very much demonstrating or communicating your wants and needs. And it's a one that people a lot would struggle with. If you can kind of picture where it would show up in your life or your career, it's like, why didn't I ask that question in that meeting? Or why didn't I put my views forward in that meeting? Or in other aspects, you can think about, I really should ask for that promotion. Or why can't I build up the courage to ask for that raise? A lot of people may struggle about this and they don't know it. People who are low in this are, let's say, shy, passive, and assertiveness very much is putting forth your beliefs, your values, and ideas without being belligerent. You're hearing also other people's aspects. They know where you stand, and coming through your working week, knowing that you've been assertive, gives a kind of knock-on effect to people's or yourself, your confidence.
Cool. Okay. So when we're talking about assertiveness, this is about you having a point of view, position or something, and you want to share it with other people, and then it's for some reason whatsoever you do not share it. And is this about knowing what you've got to do to get yourself to share that idea?
Exactly. It's about, that thought that pops into people's heads all the time. I'm not going to say this because it will sound stupid, or it will sound X, or they don't want to hear this. People know the answer to this in any way. It's about powering through that thought or obstacle and really getting to, I'm going to say this in any way. Or it's not about not putting things on the long finger. I'm going to do this today or this week. Being assertive in yourself is kind of crafting or creating that pathway in front of you. Because if you're not assertive, you're letting other people be assertive for you.
Mm. Nice. And you're letting yourself down to a certain degree, aren't you? Because you're not giving yourself the credibility. You have an idea. If you do not share that idea, you're not trusting yourself, are you? You're not trusting all that thinking, all the work you've done. And actually, there's something that does that sort of to start to degrade your own feeling about yourself and who you are.
It does. And people can sometimes confuse assertiveness with being brash or kind of talking over other people. It's assertiveness absolutely occupies the same space as other people's assertiveness. Basically, you can be assertive and have compromise as well. It's about letting yourself be heard so you won't be dictated or overly controlled. It's massive in terms of boundaries, and that's a buzzword that's thrown around an awful lot around these days. Being assertive in yourself is being assertive in your boundaries.
Nice. I love it. Okay. Love it. So if that's habit number one, what's habit number two?
The habit number two is self-actualization, the phrase that not a lot of people would kind of use, but think about it in terms of self-improvement. Now, this is the pursuit of meaningful and purposeful goals. If you are low in this skill or habit, you are essentially drifting along. You see a to-do list in front of you and it means nothing. You're very much, let's say, outcome orientated as opposed to process. So you're just not engaging in meaningful activities. This is where knowing your values, a kind of purpose behind it, really, really helps. It stops you from drifting and go, the week just went by and you didn't see yourself improve in any kind of way. Just as you, Michael, are a kind of productivity czar, it really kind of helps with that and make sure that you're productive in the right way, that you are doing things that you really care for. It's that gem on top. It's fulfillment that we're all looking for. If you're not realizing or practicing self-actualization, you are being pulled, pushed, and dragged into habits, day-to-day activities that really don't mean anything.
Right. Okay. So is this about having a list of things that you need to do in a week to be the person you want to be?
I was thinking about this before the call, and you know how we have New Year's resolutions? Imagine you just didn't leave it to New Year's. Imagine if each quarter or each month you're ensuring that the things that you are doing are the things that you want to do. And that's just your habit. It's like you're always about self-improvement. And the best thing is you're never done. And you're kind of planning for it in terms of, let's say, a vague outcome, but you also doing it because you're going to love the process of it.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of a real world example, so is this like, if I wanted to become a runner, right? And actually my journey to self-actualization to becoming a runner, if I've got activities that are like eat at a certain time so I can then go for a run, like things like that. So actually going for a run, if going for a run isn't on my list, I will never achieve the self-actualization of becoming a runner. Would that be a nice example of that?
Absolutely. What helps is definitely, Michael, is knowing the why behind it as well. I want to be a runner. Okay, that's great. Why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
If you dig a little bit deeper and find out why it would be fulfilling, then it just adds rocket fuel to that habit.
Okay, so I want to run a marathon. To do that, I need to become a marathon runner. And to do that, I need to run regularly. So that then appears on my list. And if I'm not running regularly, I don't become a runner and I won't run a marathon.
Yeah, but also it's about what will it give you? What will it give you? What is the why behind it? You want to be a marathon runner because it'll be a fantastic.
There is no why becoming a marathon runner. People just pick it and they run a marathon.
Yeah, because you want to be a marathon runner because you'll love the process. You'll love the discipline behind it, the feeling that it will give you. You'll be healthier. You'll feel better, and it's kind of just a track, a road in front of you to get to some. Marathon is the outcome. It's the marathon training that is the biggest. People would say the biggest milestone of all, as opposed to the race will happen. And this is the thing: you could pull up a week before the race, but that doesn't mean you disregarded all the other training that you did.
Yeah, no, and that is the story of 2 marathons that I have attempted to run.
Yes, it was
4 weeks and 3 weeks short. Okay, so
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. Okay, so habit number 1, 2. We're halfway through. What is habit number 3?
Okay, habit number 3 is interpersonal relationships. Now, why did I pick this one in terms of your career? I picked this one because the dreaded word, which people absolutely hate, networking. And interpersonal relationships is a cornerstone of your emotional intelligence and indeed networking. A lot of people confuse it with a kind of dirty word like politics. And to be honest, if I was to be frank, that's an excuse so you don't have to do it. Interpersonal relationship is about having a mutually satisfying connection with somebody where it's very much give and take. And like as we get older, we have families and we kind of can sometimes drift away from friends. It's really about being intentional in terms of your relationships, reaching out, giving the same respect that you give to your work as you give to your relationships. So like we would have like, let's say a project in work that we have to get over the line. What if your network or your relationships with your friends was a project that you'd have to give the same respect to? Therefore, you'd kind of make the effort to reach out to those people. And the knock-on effects for keeping your relationships fresh and kind of healthy is manifold in terms of the kind of benefits that you could get from it in terms of your health, in terms of your network, in terms of your career when you're reaching out to somebody. And a lot of people always think it's the same thing over and over again. They don't want to hear from me or they're too busy. Michael, the truth is they'd love to hear from you. And a lot of people are a lot more kinder and generous with their time than we all think.
Nice. Okay. So that interpersonal relationships and the EQ, is that about? So what is it we're thinking about? So is it about making sure we look after them and tend to them? Is what is the thing we're thinking? Like, yes, they exist, but what is the thing that we should be working towards?
what is the thing that we should be working towards? I
Yeah.
think the tending and nurturing of them makes the most sense. It is, wow, I haven't talked to that person in a long time. Maybe I should give them a call. And also, when it comes to your career, it's like, they don't want to hear from me. I was good, like, think about, you want to go for a role. It's like they'll just think that I'm coming up to them for trying to take something. That's not generally not the case. If you make it also about them wanting to find out what their career has been like and what information they have, lots of people are happy to help, because we've all been there. We've all been there. And that initial reach out can be the start of something fantastic in terms of the relationships you have going forward.
Nice. Okay. I think I've got it. And I think it's much harder now in the digital world, where there's a lot more remoteness. There's a lot of those sort of satellite interactions you have with people, the very cheesy water cooler, where you just actually have a chat and ask how you're doing. Because actually, to do it in the digital world, to interrupt whatever someone's doing and get them to click, oh yeah, like, yeah,
I would
softer stuff around the edge. Okay.
I would push back against that. I'd push back against that. Obviously, ideally, if you're able to meet with somebody face to face, fantastic, because the impression that you get somebody from face in person cannot be replaced. But in the digital age, you can ping anybody, and as long as you're not, like, let's say, pitching or just like kind of asking for something where you just know you're respecting the person's time, that's what you want. Like, they'll hear you out. I think it's easier than ever.
Yeah, I guess I miss the serendipity of in person, like
Yeah.
the accidental conversations. You know what I mean? That you both going out, you know, sitting having a chat and a coffee, and goes to a random place, because they do. I do, and I guess maybe that's something for me to go and think about, is actually the relationships I have. And this year is my year of in real life, because last year was a very digital year for me. And I think the thing I'm really craving is those incidental conversations, and those moments where actually something comes up in the silence, where you're both in the same place, and then something comes. So maybe that is something for me to think about in terms of those relationships I need to look after.
There's a real interesting method or habit I've heard other people do, where they have a weekly kind of get together. And if you can make it, you can make it. And if you can't, you can't. But it's always there in the diary. And you do that for people that live locally, or you can do it at work or your community. And you don't have to turn up every week, but you know it's there every time, whether it's at a local park or something like that. I think that's a fantastic way to get it in place.
Yeah, it reminds me of my early days when you'd go out on a Friday night, and there was probably 3 or 4 pubs where everyone would turn up at a certain point. If you were like, it was 9 o'clock, I know, if I'm in that pub, I know people are going to come through. And if I'm, that's a really interesting point. Okay, we're halfway through. People really do need to hang on to it, because the last one is the one that pulls this all together. What is habit number 4?
Habit number 4, when it comes to emotional intelligence and your career, is optimism. So it's very, very hard to have a progressive career if you are pessimistic, and optimism is the opposite of that. People who are optimistic, when let's say negative things come their way, they bat them away and think that they're not permanent. They don't shoulder the blame for something negative, and they have a resilience. When you're optimistic, it pulls you into action. When you're pessimistic, it can be slightly an excuse for inaction and not doing anything at all. Oh, it's always going to be this way, or nothing will happen for me. Optimism, which can be learned, by the way, optimism just gives you ideas and pathways in front of you. That shouldn't be confused with irrational positivity now. Optimism should be tied to another EQ skill, reality testing, where you call things like they are. But if you're optimistic, you're always looking for different ideas, different pathways and opportunities, as opposed to really, Michael, waiting for things to happen to yourself.
Well, yeah, I like that. And this takes me back to, there was a moment where I burnt out, was very close to burning out in my career. And I think I dropped in a very rare period in my life. I dropped into a bit of a pessimist, and anytime I had to ask how I was doing, I was like, "Oh, I'm a bit crap. Like, the team's getting on top of me." And every time someone asked me, that was my default answer. And I think actually that had become an unrealistic an unrealistic reality that you were talking about. Every day was a bad day, every moment. And then someone came in and gave a talk and said, right, your challenge for 21 days is when someone says, how are you doing? Say brilliant. The first thing you have to say is, I'm brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. It's good, but like, what if it's perfectly fine if you're not feeling brilliant to say I'm not feeling brilliant.
However, it was the changing the habit, right? Because the unrealistic reality that stuck was that everything's crap. And I actually worked out I had to put an and on it. I was like, yeah, it's brilliant, and I've got a challenge today, and it's this. So actually coming down from that unrealistic perpetual, like what you were saying about is it unrealistic optimism? So I can't remember what the words you were saying about the
irrational positivity.
The irrational, it wasn't that. And I was really conscious of being in irrational positivity, like, because that's no better. I've seen that in someone before, and I was just like, that's not functioning, because everything can't be that amazing, that brilliant. However, mine was, I'm brilliant. And you know what? I've had a real challenging hour. However, I know I've got this, and this coming. It's going to be great. And that was the thing that really brought me around to the power of like those habit changes, and those moments of something stimulates you and you have a choice of how you respond. And this is why I want you on today, because actually you can pick how you respond to a certain degree. It might take time to get you there and turn that tanker of emotional response. You can learn it, and you can learn what your triggers are, and you can be better and closer to the person that you want to be.
There's one simple question you can ask yourself if you want to go from a pessimistic person to an optimistic person. It's just a simple reframe. What other way could I look at this that could be to my benefit?
Oh, like that.
Simple as that.
Love it. Okay. That's habit number 4. What is this final habit that brings it all together?
The final habit, and one that people always think about when they think about emotional intelligence, is empathy. Empathy. So this is being in tune and having a sensitivity to other people's needs, beliefs, and values. This is absolutely essential, especially these days where people are trying to tear each other apart. It is accepting that other people have different values, beliefs, and viewpoints to your own. It's absolutely essential for creating a bridge between people. A lot of people would get empathy mixed up with, let's say, sympathy. So sympathy is where you're talking about or I did this, or I feel sorry for you. Or empathy would be, I hear that you are feeling this. You seem like you are that. It's more using you instead of I. Now, sympathy has its place, but empathy is really hearing the other person's situation and showing that you hear it. Empathy can be kind of mixed up where people are trying to solve other people's solutions. Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried? No. How you practice empathy is very simple. You ask a question of genuine curiosity and then shut up. You observe and you hear what the other person is saying, and don't try and fix their solution. Be present with the person. That's what empathy is.
I love that. And I love the idea of being present with someone and just giving someone the space to like say something and then think about it.
And this is the thing. It's crucial for forming relationships in your career. Crucial for leadership. Crucial for self-leadership. Being empathetic to yourself. But like, it is, active listening is so important. Ask a question out of genuine curiosity. Shut up and observe the person and not their problem. Observe the person first. Then you can empathize with where they are in terms of their problem.
I love it. It's such a powerful thing to do, is give people the space to think. Like, ask them a real question and give them the space to actually think about it.
Yeah. And so people, like, without any maliciousness, they get it wrong all the time.
No, yeah. And that's it a lot of time. And a lot of leaders, it's never malicious. They're always there. They think can save the day, help them out. Actually, the
Solution,
real work
problem solvers.
Solve it for them. Yeah. The real work comes when people solve it for themselves.
Hmm.
I love it. Okay, we're there. That is all 5 habits. We have whistled through them. That is brilliant. So let's recap them. So habit number 1 was?
Assertiveness.
Habit number 2?
Self-actualization.
Habit number 3?
Is interpersonal relationships.
Number 4?
Number 4 is optimism.
And the one that brings it all together at the end?
Is empathy, without a shadow of a doubt.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Thank you, Michael.
I am going to take away some things to think about and really work on for myself, because it's always a journey that I've been at the other end of this spectrum where my EQ wasn't possibly where it needed to be, and it is always a work in progress for me. And I really enjoy it.
It's a work in progress for everybody, Michael. You're never finished emotional intelligence.
No, absolutely not. Okay, so if people want to find you, work with you, know more about you, where can they find you?
They can find me on my LinkedIn page, Simon Gallagher. I write about this stuff every week, Michael. So that's where you can find me. And where can they find you?
If I meet they can find me everywhere, basically. So this has gone out live onto LinkedIn and YouTube. So you can find my YouTube channel. You can find Make Your Habits on LinkedIn. And you can follow me as well. I do have a productivity prod, which is not a newsletter, but comes in an email form and may look like other newsletters in your inbox, but it is about prodding you with little productivity tips to help you in the right direction. And next week, I'm starting a productivity pod, which is about taking an idea and bringing it to life. Because this year I'm on a mission to bring 100 ideas to life. Basically, I help you take the idea, build the plan, and then execute it. And basically, at the end of it, you can build anything that your business needs, and you build a load of brilliant habits along the way. So that's all very exciting. People can drop me a DM if they want to find out more about that.
Fantastic. Sounds fantastic.
Brilliant. So thank you very much. We are going to leave everyone to it. Have a brilliant day. Thank you very much, Simon.
Cheers, folks. Talk to you.